evening. I'm Barbara. I'm from Anambra.
Is that right?
Yes. My husband is from Igbo. Yes. I'm from Nafana. And I've lived in Enugu. So today I've come with my team to Kuze Maka diabetes and the management and tell you how we can eat healthy, right? So I'm going to give it up for Brenda to take over. Thank you very much.
Before I start, I'm just going to let my colleagues introduce themselves. You're okay because I'm going to be speaking, I'm going to take my mask off while I'm up here. Okay? So, my name is Brenda, and I'm one of the registered nurses with the Diabetes Education Program.
My name's Bonnie, I'm the manager for the program, and I'm a nurse as well. My name is Meghana, and I'm one of the registered dietitians.
Can you please turn off that phone? Can you please turn off that phone? No, can't be doing something like this and then...
I better turn off mine too.
Yeah, very good.
So my name is Meghana, and I'm one of the registered dietitians and certified diabetes educator with the program.
My name is Pooja, and I'm a community health ambassador with WellFort Community Health Services.
Okay, so we're going to get started. I get to start, so don't fret about the food because Meghana's going to talk about the food. So right now, don't fret about what you're eating, okay? So Meghana talks. All right, so as we mentioned, we're from the Diabetes Education Program at WellFort Community Health Services in Brampton. We do many things at our health center, but the rationale why we are here today is to talk to you a little about diabetes education and the importance of taking care of yourself, getting monitored throughout the year as routine blood work with your family physicians, because it's really important that you keep on top of it to make sure if you are diagnosed that you're able to then manage it in the appropriate manner. Okay? All right. My thing doesn't want. See, I'm the nurse. I'm not a technical person, so for some reason it's now. There it goes. Okay, so believe it or not, more than 3 million Canadians are living with diabetes. That small little tiny blue triangle, don't worry, I'm good at navigating cords, don't you fret about that. The 10% is people living with type 1 diabetes. And that big, larger pie with one little chunk out of it is people living with type 2 diabetes in Canada. Okay? So, high blood sugars can often cause many issues. But if we're living with not an adequate amount of insulin in our body to help control the blood sugars, then the insulin can't get out into the bloodstream to scoop up enough sugar that needs to be moved out of the bloodstream to lower your blood sugars. Okay? So, here we have a cell. So, you have thousands and thousands of cells in your body, and in order for those cells to get energy, believe it or not, some of that sugar needs to come out of your bloodstream and make its way into your cells to give your body that energy. Okay? How is it doing it? Remember that word insulin I talked about. It's a hormone that the body naturally produces in our pancreas, and when the level of sugar goes up in our blood, the pancreas gets the signal and it releases some of this hormone insulin. The insulin comes out, scoops up some of the sugar out of your bloodstream, and transports it like a big transport truck and moves it to the thousands of cells in your body. Sorry, I meant to preface my conversation with, if I am talking too fast, tell me to slow down, because I tend to do that, okay? So if anybody finds that I'm talking too fast, please don't hesitate to ask me to slow down, okay? All right. So, I mentioned that one term, type 1 diabetes. So type 1 diabetes, people are often diagnosed much younger in life, and their pancreas is not making any of that natural hormone insulin. So when they eat food, the level of sugar is going to go up, but they have no response from the body of the insulin coming out to help control the sugar. So for them, they need insulin. They need to give themselves insulin before every meal and before they go to bed at night. Okay? Type 2 diabetes, remember that was that bigger chunk of that pie, and that is the most prevalent in our country. So for that, maybe our pancreas isn't making enough to control the level of sugar in our blood. Can we manage it potentially without insulin? Yes. Over time, though, the person living with type 2 diabetes might need to increase their management to control it. So maybe you can start off with managing it with diet and exercise, and maybe the doctor says, let's add some medication, so then you start to take some tablets. If over time we're still not getting enough blood sugar control, the doctor might add another medication, and eventually it might lead to insulin. I have a question for you. If somebody with type 2 goes on insulin, does that now make them type 1?
No.
No. You guys are brilliant. I don't need to tell you anything else. You're absolutely brilliant. You're absolutely right. Somebody with type 2 who ends up on insulin doesn't mean that they're now type 1. They're what we call type 2 insulin dependent. Okay? So, we talked about... Oh, yeah.
So, I'm your testing happening now. So when I come to you, I won't be interested in your test because now in a short time. Once I come to you, just Maluna for the testing, you could just follow me behind. Okay? She'll be teaching Manambia Rana to you and you want to do the testing. You just come with me.
So what she's talking about, the testing, is something called a hemoglobin A1C. It is a 3-month average looking at what your blood sugar might be, and it renders itself in a percentage. So somebody who's living with type 2 diabetes, they already know what that means. But if you're somebody who hasn't maybe had your blood work checked in a while, and you think, you know, the girls are here today, they're just going to poke my finger a tiny little bit, and in 5 minutes I can get a result, and the girls can give you some recommendations about where to go. So that's what's happening in the far corner. I don't want you thinking that the far corner is that you're bad and we're putting you back there, okay? It's just that's the action that's happening in the back, okay? All right, here we go. So, you guys already answered that question. We're just going to go on. So people who develop diabetes, so people only develop diabetes if they consume too much sugar. Oh, my goodness. I gave you the answer. Okay, who thinks, pretend you didn't see that. Who thinks it's true and who thinks it's false? So developing type 2 diabetes is because you eat too much sugar. Who thinks that? Put your hand up. Of course, nobody's going to put their hand up because they thought it's false, right? Okay, so we know it's false. Yes, can your diet impact what your sugars are? Absolutely. But it could be something from genetics, a family history, inactivity, okay? Many things can contribute to somebody's risk to develop diabetes. So these are those risk factors that I alluded to. So these are the things that we can't change. I don't care, sometimes I want to change my family, but I can't, right? So you can't change ethnically who you are. So people of African descent, Asian, Arabs, Hispanic, our indigenous population here in Canada, and people of South Asian descent have an increased chance of developing diabetes. Hey, if I knew why, I'd be out of a job. And I would be quite content to do that. But we don't know why. Genetically, they don't know why. And obviously, if we were able to figure that out, we'd have a cure for type 2 diabetes, right? History of gestational diabetes. So all the men in the room, I want you to take a big, because that doesn't include you. Okay, gestational diabetes is when women get pregnant and they develop higher blood sugar during their pregnancies. So the gents in the room, you can all give yourself woohoo and celebrate that, okay? Now, a family history. So if you have a strong family history where people in your family have developed diabetes, it does increase your risk, okay? And then other conditions that are linked to developing diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. Guess what? All those people that I mentioned in the first point have a higher incidence of higher cholesterol and higher blood pressure as well. Okay? These are the risk factors that we can change, right? We can change the way, the foods that we choose. We can change our lifestyle by maybe becoming more active. So how many minutes of physical activity does somebody think is recommended for a week? How many minutes? I heard 20 minutes per week. Anybody else have an idea? You're right, I heard somebody say 150 minutes. 150 minutes is what is the minimum amount that they recommend for everybody during the week. Okay? Certainly reducing one's body weight helps to improve one's blood sugars. And believe it or not, stress is going to impact your blood sugars. Right? So, is this true or false? People who have diabetes can feel normal, as if nothing is wrong. What do you think? Yes. I have many clients come into my office and they've got blood sugars 20, 23, and they say, you know what, Brenda? I don't feel that bad. So my response to them is, when your sugars are controlled and they're in the 7s, you're going to feel totally different. And you're going to tell me a different story when those blood sugars are well controlled. Okay? And that's the problem, is that the blood sugars slowly creep up and people just associate it with changes that's happening in their lives. And if they're not getting routine blood work done, then whammo. All right. So, when blood sugars are high, these are the types of things that you might feel. You feel like you're always tired. You might feel like you're always hungry. Maybe you're passing your urine a lot more. Maybe you've got blurry vision. Maybe you're losing weight. Hey, that's not so bad, but it's not good if you're losing weight because your sugars are high. And maybe you cut yourself and it doesn't heal as well. Some of those, often people say, that's because I'm getting older. I'm tired all the time. I don't have as much energy. I'm passing my urine more because I'm getting older. You know, my vision's blurry because I'm getting older. Take it from me. If you are having symptoms that you don't normally have, don't ignore it. Go and get it checked. So my philosophy is, when in doubt, check it out. Okay? Now, see your doctor or your nurse practitioner to get your blood work done. As I said, you can't rely on those symptoms. Once you get over 40, it does increase your risk to develop type 2 diabetes. Those at high risk are checked earlier than others. So if you come from a high-risk population, it's recommended that rather than waiting every year to get checked, maybe you get checked every 6 months, minimum every year. Now we do have a handout called the complete, if you want, you can complete the form, Are You at Risk? To see if, before you decide if you want to have a test done, you could do that. Okay? That's the at-risk form. We do have copies of them. This is why we talk about testing your blood sugars. That 3-month average that I'm mentioning, it's measured in a percent. So if it's less than 5.4%, you don't have any concerns. It's in a normal range. Okay, when it's 5.5 to 5.9%, it's what we call at risk. 6.0 to 6.4% is classified as a pre-diabetes range. So your blood sugars are slightly higher than where we want them to be. That's an opportunity for change, to make changes, so that hopefully we don't get up to that 6.5% or higher. Okay? Even though we're doing an A1C test here today, it's what we call a point of care test. They are fairly accurate, but obviously, if it's elevated, we are going to recommend that you follow up with your family doctor to get the test done at the laboratory. Okay? So, if we can keep that A1C lower, so in the 6.5 to 7% range, it's going to reduce the risks of complications. It's not to say that you won't get them, but keeping your blood sugars controlled will help reduce that risk, okay? Anything higher than 7%, increased risk it's a higher risk for complications, okay? And actually in the US, their recommendation is not higher than 6.5%. So when it's not managed well, just think of this. It affects everything in your body from the top of your head to the tip of your toes and everything in between. Okay? So uncontrolled blood sugar is going to affect every aspect of your body, every organ in your body. Okay? So it's going to affect eyes. It increases your risk of stroke. It increases the risk of heart issues, wounds that don't heal, kidney problems. What a horrible thing to be talking about on a Sunday evening. Sorry, guys. Reduce blood flow to your feet, and then nerve damage. So sometimes people with uncontrolled blood sugars have damage to their feet and can't feel things. So, this is our management, feeling good and living healthier. Dietary modifications, I see my friend starting to make her way to the front. Increasing your exercise, monitoring your health to ensuring that you're getting your blood sugars checked at least yearly at your doctor's. And please, if your doctor tells you to take medication, don't ignore them. If the doctor says to you, I just want to propose this. The doctor says, you have an irregular heartbeat, and in order for your heart to beat normally, I want you to take this medication. Everybody's going to take it, right? Because you don't want your heart to not beat well. So what is the difference when the doctor says, I'd like you to take diabetes medication? There isn't, right? He's wanting you to take it for a reason, and trust me, they monitor your blood work to make sure it's not causing any damage to your kidneys. So if that's what you're worried about, the doctor wants me to take medications, trust me, as a nurse, when I get my client's blood work, I'm checking those things, okay? So don't be afraid of it. All right, this is where my colleague comes in. Balanced dietary modifications. I'm going to tell you this little cartoon. Megan is going to talk about something called the balanced plate. It doesn't mean we stack our plate up on a weigh scale until we make it even. Okay? Okay.
Thanks, Brenda.
And if you have any questions, we will answer at the end. And certainly we're back here if you have any questions. Okay?
Okay, and at the end back there, we are also doing one by one. We are also doing the A1C testing, which Brenda mentioned. So now I'll be talking about the nutrition part, diet, right? So moment everybody hears the word diet, or maybe when they are newly diagnosed with diabetes, as soon as the doctor says, oh, you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, most people get scared. They think, oh, now I cannot eat my favorite foods, I cannot eat what I like, and this is going to be a strict diet. But actually, it's not like that. What we are looking at is healthy nutrition. So it's more of the balanced meals, where we can get everything, so we can still lead a normal life. But what is important is watching the portions and what you're having, the quantity, portion size. So that's what is important. So you can still enjoy the foods that you like. And again, so the balanced diet, we need to make sure we get all the nutrients, right? Because if we miss some nutrients, then you're going to have some deficiencies. So it's really important to have a balanced meal. So when it comes to, so first thing what is important, when we talk about balanced meals, or the meal spacing is most important. So we need to space our meals. So when you are having your breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3 meals a day, we need to space this 4 to 6 hours apart. So I'm saying 4 to 6 hours apart because when you have when you eat your meal, so let's say you have your breakfast, the blood sugar goes up, then it will come down, then you have the next meal. So there is like a consistent pattern. But when you leave long gaps between meals, so let's say you've eaten at 8 o'clock in the morning, you have your breakfast and then don't have anything until 3 or 4 p.m. So that's not a good idea because that's a very long gap. So what can happen is your blood sugar can drop, or by the time you get to the next meal, you're so hungry, then you tend to eat more. Whatever is there in front of you, you want to have that, right? And many of us have experienced that, right? So you're so hungry that you then don't wait, and then we often overeat. So that's why if we space those meals, it's a good idea. So either long gaps or having too soon also. So sometimes, let's say you've had your lunch, I'll just give an example. Let's say you had your lunch around 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And then at 2:30, immediately you have a snack. So that's again too close to your meal. So again, you're not giving a chance for the blood sugars to come down and having the next meal. So then what's going to happen? The blood sugar is going to go high. So first thing what's important is spacing the meals. And often we have so many now, Brenda and me, we've been seeing clients together for the last 14 years. We've seen in our practice many a times clients will say that I skip breakfast, I don't have the time. Everybody's rushing, right? So most of us, we are rushing to work or carrying out our day-to-day activities. So often we skip breakfast and then just have lunch. So you're going without having a meal for a very long time. So let's say you had your dinner last night and nothing until next day noon. So that's again not a good idea, leaving such a long gap. So this first thing is meal spacing. The next one, the easiest way, so whatever I'm just giving today is more like general guidelines. So this will be helpful for managing your blood sugars, managing diabetes, as well as those who are looking at prevention, right? So these are just generalized guidelines. But anything that specifically, if you're looking for an individualized list, that's where you can always connect with us. So if you come to us and you can do more of an individualized one. So when we talk about balanced meals, so this the best, easiest way is the plate method. So when you look at this plate, you're seeing half the plate is full of vegetables, and the other half, quarter portion is starch and quarter portion is protein. So that's how the balanced meal should look like. Often what happens is, a lot of the times we miss out on the vegetables. We may have some protein, but the starch portion, maybe that takes up more of the plate, right? So probably more than half of the plate, right? So that's going to, what's going to happen is, that's going to again raise the blood sugars. So that's why we need to try and keep to the balance. And I'm going to talk about that, about all each of these food groups, and we'll be going through that. So what is important is, we are having starch and grains, vegetables, there is protein food group, and then we have the fats. So these are all important food groups. So when it comes to, so I'm going to go one by one. So first, because here I have on my plate vegetables. So when we talk about vegetables, we want half the plate full of vegetables. So now, we don't want to be going, so we don't want to weigh every time, we don't want to weigh your food or have the weighing scale. The best and easiest way, our hands are always with us, right? So those 2 hands full, that will make you half the plate of the vegetables. So 2 hands full. And this includes all your green, red, yellow, all the different vegetables. Everything except potato, sweet potato, corn, yam, plantain. I know some of these are staple foods. Now these ones are included in the starch portion. We don't take it as vegetables. I have clients when they will say that I had potato vegetable or I had yam, so that will count as starch, not as vegetables. So when I say vegetables, this is more like the green leafy vegetables, red, yellow. So this, for example, all your salad vegetables, right? Or let's say cucumber, tomato, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, okra, all those different vegetables will be included in this vegetable food group. So we want half of the plate full of vegetables. The next one is the starch one. So when we talk about the starch portion, so that will include breads, rice, potato, cereals, corn, yam, all those are the starch portions. Now here I want to show you something. So when we talk about the starch portion, so a serving, when I say serving of starch, so here this is one slice of bread, right? So that's like one serving of starch and grain. Now I'm going to show you something here. I have a cup of rice here, 1 cup of cooked rice, right? Everyone is familiar, right? Rice. So that's again 1 cup of cooked rice. So if I show you, how many servings do you think this is? 1 cup of cooked. Any guesses? Serving. So this is 1 cup. Any guesses? Is it 1, 2, or more than that? 2, okay. Somebody thinks less than 1, okay.
No, for our culture.
That's probably culture, yes, that's so used to, right? So this one actually is 3 servings. So 3 servings of starches and grains. So that
It's not even half plates in our meal.
3 slices of bread, right? So I'll share an interesting example story. So once Miranda and me had a client, and this client was telling us, because rice was the staple food, and the client said, I don't know why, but after lunch my blood sugars are always high 2 hours after. We checked the breakfast, dinner, everything was fine. So then me and Brenda were wondering what's happening during lunchtime that the blood sugars are going so high. So we asked the client, what do you usually have for lunch? So the client said, I have little rice, and then I have a piece of protein. I might have chicken or fish, and then some vegetables or salad. So the client kept saying little rice. So then when I showed the cup of rice, I said, would you be able to tell me how much in terms of this cup? So the client says, oh, this cup, I have 2 servings. So I said, what do you call a serving? So the client thought 1 cup is 1 serving, they thought. So 2, so actually was having 6 servings. So that's like 6 slices of bread. So that's why 2 hours after the blood sugar was going high. So we know why the sugars were going high. So what we did was reduce the quantity of the rice, add more vegetables, making sure having adequate protein, right? So when it comes to potatoes, sweet potato, corn, so here's what I have. I'm just going to show you. This is a serving. So that's corn, right? Half a potato. So that's like equivalent to 1 slice of bread or 1/3 cup of rice. So if you have the 1 full potato, that's like eating 2 servings, right?
Is it for snack or for
So this is for the meal. Generally for women we would say 2 choices, for men 3. Right? So I know it seems, but we are also having other things in the plate. So it's not just starch portion, right? So that's why I'm going to go by each food group. So that's starch and grain is the staple in our this one. So most of these go here, right? So that's why this can increase the blood sugar level. So we have too much quantity. Right? Then here, so here I have pasta, noodles, right? So just to show. So sometimes if this plate is full of that, so that can increase the blood sugar level. So these are just to give you an idea. So here I have like 1 cup of cereal here, right? So that, or if you're having, now this one, which one do you think is better? The whole grain bread or the white bread? Now,
the white one? I prefer the white one.
Prefer, yes. But in nutrition, which one do you think in terms of health?
Healthy is the brown one.
Now, so what happens is, so whether it's white or the whole grain, the carbohydrate content is the same. That's what is affecting the blood sugar. But it's the fiber in this whole grain, so that is going to help because that's going to fill you up. So sometimes you may notice for breakfast, let's say you have a sandwich. So if you have the whole grain sandwich, this will be more filling, it will keep you full for a longer time as compared to the white bread. So you notice when you have white bread, maybe after a couple of hours, you're again feeling hungry. So that's going to, again, yes. Gluten. So those who have problems, yes. So then, yes, that's why I said these are general guidelines. So anybody who has gluten, who is on gluten restricted diet or any other conditions, then we would do that individualized plan. Yeah, sorry.
That was just a quick question. The portion you are sharing,
Yes.
is it for people that are already diagnosed of diabetes?
So what I'm sharing right now, yes, so what I'm sharing is living with diabetes as well as for a healthy diet. So prevention, right? So even for all these guidelines, what we are discussing is also for prevention, not just for living with diabetes. Yeah.
Thank you so much for all this that you're bringing. We didn't know about this before, but this portion is for rice.
Yes.
You know about yam?
Yes, yeah.
And cassava.
Yeah, cassava. Yes.
So, for instance, if you're to compare it with pounded yam,
Yeah.
how do you measure the quantity that is portioned?
So those will be in terms of cup usually. So usually we say 1/3 cup. So I know it's less, so 1/3 cup or half cup. So you can do it in terms of cup. That's why I was showing potato. So let's say when you mash this, this actually is a serving, right? So I'm not saying to have one. You can have two to three servings. But this is just what I'm showing is one serving, right? So this is showing you.
So this is what you're recommending for us to eat as pounded yam.
So you can have two of
This is very important. So, madam, you're saying we should eat only one of these?
No, so this, so again, so when I'm saying this, so this goes as a starch and grains, right? So if you're only having in the meal, let's say you're having vegetables, you decide to have starch and grains and proteins. I'll do one and show you. So let's say we have, which vegetable should I choose? Maybe okra, okay? And let's choose green beans, right? So I have, so this is half my meal. Then here, this is beans and okra. Green beans and okra. Then I have my starch portion here, right? So let's say you decide to have a cup of rice here or a cup of yam, whatever you're having. So that goes here, that's 3 servings. And you decide to have, let's say, chicken or fish. So that's like your plate, right? Now, if in this plate, if I was to add, let's say you decide to have more of, let's say I have rice, I add a potato, I decide to have maybe some noodles. Now what do you think of this plate?
This shows that you're a big man.
Big, right. So what do you think will happen if somebody has all this in one Yes, so that's when we start to make those changes. So I know sometimes it can be hard, right? If you're used to having 2 cups of rice. So if I say, oh, cut down to 1 cup or maybe 2/3 of a cup. So maybe we do it slowly, right? So if you're having 2 cups, maybe how about reducing that a little bit and adding some more vegetables, making sure you have the protein, and gradually we are doing it. Because if we start to make those changes suddenly and try to get everything, fix everything, then that's going to be difficult to get to that, right? So this is just to give you an idea of the portion size. So that's the starch and grain. Now next one, when we talk about, so when I'm talking about carbohydrates, so starch and grains contain sugar. So that's going to get converted to sugar. Which other food group do you think will get converted to sugar? On the table. Fruits, yes. So fruits. Now when you think of fruits, yes, fruits as much as they are healthier, but again they contain natural sugar. So we have to keep a check on the portions, how much we are having at one time, right? So usually they recommend 2 to 3 servings of fruits in the whole day. But I'm saying in the whole day, not at the same time.
Audience, please, audience.
So we say 2 to 3 servings of fruits in the whole day. So if we try to have everything at one time, that's going to raise the blood sugar levels, right? So now here, let's say I'll use an example, and I'm saying servings because depending on the type of fruit, serving size will be different. So let's say if you were having an apple, pear, peach, this is anything that fits in the palm of my hand. That's a serving of fruit. So here, that's one serving. Now, if you had banana or plantain, let's say any of that, so this one, half of that will be like a serving of fruit. So if you had one banana, that's going to be like having 2 fruits at a time. Right? So that's why we say here apple, pear, peach, any of that. Now here I'm going to show you something interesting. I have grapes here. So this is 15 grapes, 1/5. So 15 grapes is 1 serving of fruit. So that's like equivalent to having 1 apple or 1 pear. So and I'm saying 15 because often grapes, if they're sweet, sometimes it can be tempting and we lose the count, right? So I have clients who will say, oh, I have 30, 40 at one time. So that's because it's sweet. So sometimes we don't realize. So it's 15 grapes. Now, it's something interesting here. If you have berries, you can have more quantity. So this one, 2 cups of strawberries will be like your 1 serving of fruit. So you can enjoy more. So sometimes some people say, oh, instead of having half a banana, how about I have 2 cups of strawberries, right? Because that's going to be 1 serving of fruit. Or blueberries. I have here 1 cup of blueberries, right? So that's like 1 serving of fruit here. What do you think of the watermelon? Now summertime, right? So watermelon is available everywhere. So this is like a serving. So that's the piece of watermelon. Yes.
So what happens then
If you have more?
no, if you get one banana and the two oranges and maybe 1 apple in a smoothie, is that too much?
Okay, so that's a very good question. So when you add everything, the fruits together, so let's say you are adding banana, apple, right, oranges, and you make a smoothie out of it, or let's say even something like freshly squeezed orange juice, right? Orange. So is that a good idea?
Yes.
So what happens is, I'll show you something. So here, this is a glass of, so let's say this is 1 glass, 250 ml. So to make a 250 ml freshly squeezed orange juice, we would require a minimum of 3 to 4 oranges, minimum, just to get a glass of freshly squeezed juice. So that much of calories, that much of sugar is going in that glass of juice. And lentils, beans, all those will come in the protein portion. Even egg, cheese, low-fat cheese, so those will be protein sources, right? So all these are protein.